Hey guys, Olga here from Indie Film World, and today I'm sitting with the director of JJ Splice, Dean Francis. Hey Dean,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm very well.
Good. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, JJ Splice Films is a production company that works across actually a fairly wide range of formats. Feature film primarily. We're in the final stages of post-production of our second feature film, Drown, right now.
Yep.
We work in short form, branded content, music videos, and we have a division called Artist Promotion, which works with actors, pairing young directors and young actors together to create high production value cinematic work that can be used to showcase the talent and skill of the performer. Okay?
And so I can hear in the background here, there's some sort of something going on. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we have a sound edit in progress at the moment, which is for the trailer of our feature film Drown that we're in the process of delivering for overseas distributors. Yeah, while the project itself has been in progress for many years, the trailer itself is in its infancy, and being that it's this time of year that it is, everyone wants everything now. We're servicing an urgent request from a foreign distributor to supply them with a theatrical trailer which they can screen over the holidays.
Great. So the film's finished,
Yes, the film is finished.
and what are the plans for it now?
Well, it's sold into a number of major territories overseas, which is terrific. We will be announcing the Australian premiere. We'll be announcing that in January, and it will take place in the February-March sort of time frame. And from there, we will be releasing it into theatres at some point in 2015. And I suppose, like any Australian independent filmmaker in this very difficult climate, finding a distribution model, hopefully, that gives us cut through, allows us to take the film out to the largest possible audience, without incurring the sort of dreadful overages and risks that we increasingly find associated with releasing Australian content theatrically.
So how long have you been in the industry for?
I've been working in the film industry for about coming up to about 15 years.
Okay, and have you seen it change much from then till now?
Yes, I have. I certainly have. I think the film industry has changed a lot, particularly in the last 5 years. And I think that a lot of the business models that we have relied on for many years, which potentially create what you might call a permissions culture, where you very much need to have permission from a large organization to realize your vision as a filmmaker. I think we're moving from that into a place where the industry is fragmenting, and it is, at least theoretically at the moment, much more possible to work on a smaller scale, which means you can produce more content, and hopefully means you can be bolder and more adventurous in the type of work that you do. I don't think we've achieved the complete democratization of filmmaking, nor do I think we would want to, but I certainly think we've seen a substantial shift in that direction in the last 5 years. I think in terms of funding for the Australian film industry, obviously in recent years we've seen a shift back towards private enterprise and private investment, which I think is a good thing to have a industry that is driven primarily by market forces. That said, I think like any subsidized film industry, which is of course the vast majority of film industries around the world, there is still, I think, an issue about a certain sort of film that we feel we need to tell, possibly again and again and again and again. And of course, some of that comes down, I think, to the inherent conflict between the cultural objectives of a government which supports a creative industry and the commercial reality and appetite of an audience. And I think it can be a challenge to reconcile those two objectives. and I don't think that's a new thing. I think what's exciting is that, of course, as we globalize in all sorts of different industries, it becomes much easier to collaborate with other countries, either through official co-production pathways or simply by Australians and Americans, for example, collaborating on films or going over to work there, or Americans coming and making films here. So what that sort of leads to is more of a sort of cross-pollination of film culture. And I think that's a very exciting thing. And I think, to add to that, you've got the emergence of the kind of crowd-based funding models, which I think probably had a bit of a peak and maybe now are seen as not quite in vogue, but something else will come along which will be similar, whether it's a pre-buy system or we're now starting to see cinema on demand starting to emerge here in Australia. And again, by empowering the audience, there's a stronger chance that stories, will actually find their way onto the screen. And find their way into the hands of audiences, which is, of course, what we all want, both as filmmakers and audience members.
So for someone who's just starting out, doesn't have the years of experience or the networks, the connections, what can you recommend to them, give some advice as to just how do you start?
I think the first thing I would say is learn your craft. And you can do that in a variety of different ways. It doesn't mean that you have to be able to afford to go to film school. You can learn your craft by discovering cinema and the history of cinema. And it surprises me when I, interact with young filmmakers how few of them these days. Maybe it's just like an old person thing to say, but I think filmmakers, young filmmakers, have less of an interest in the history of cinema than maybe we were encouraged to, sort of in my day. God, that sounded so old person. Like, if you haven't seen, the seminal classic films, then you need to see them, like as a matter of enormous priority. And the second way that you can learn your craft, of course, is just to make films. And, of course, these days, we all have the technology. I mean, of course, back in the day when I started, it was all about, saving up for like 16mm reversal film, and you could shoot, kind of 10 minutes of rushes maximum, and that was it, and you have to take it to get processed. Of course, these days we've all got a high-definition camera in our pocket, so there is literally no excuse. There is no barrier to making films, and you need to make them constantly. Every single time you make a production, and this goes for me when I do something as simple and contained and small as perhaps an artist promotion reel that I might be shooting or directing or cutting or whatever, I always come out feeling like a different filmmaker because I've learned something. I've made a mistake which I've learned from, or I've discovered something that has made me rethink some small aspect of the craft or something. And I think unless you're kind of almost daily involved in that, then your growth is not going to necessarily reach its full intensity.
So what's next for you?
Well, we are working towards the next film at the moment. We're in what would you call it? We're somewhere between development and pre-production, which is to say that the shoot is soon, but not imminent. We're also obviously at the very tail end of the process of delivering and marketing Drown, and getting that one out to its audience. We have plans to grow artist promotion, and we this year have taken on a number of really fantastic young directors and cinematographers who will be working with us to service our actor clients. And we're also making inroads into the commercials and the business end of the kind of motion picture production market as well. Again, as a way to support our kind of main game, which is that sort of awkward time between feature films where you're kind of looking for stuff to do and needing to pay the rent. Although I should say that time, which I really would enjoy, honestly, I would love to not make a film for a little while in many respects. That time actually isn't as long as we think it's going to be, and I don't know, you probably just end up just doing it again, just driving yourself into the ground with exhaustion and just having a week to recover and then straight back onto it. So I don't know. Who really knows? I mean, as long as we're doing interesting stuff, then we're all really happy.
Well, it sounds like you have a very interesting and exciting 2015 coming up.
Well, thank you very much. I hope that you're right.
And when can we see the trailer for Drown?
I'll have to go and check on how Hayden's doing, but it sounds like it's only hours away.
Very exciting.
In fact, you could even link to it right under the video of this interview, indeed.
We will. By the time I edit this, it will probably be ready, right?
If it takes you more than a couple of hours.
It will.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was so good chatting with you today.
It's such a pleasure, Olga. Thank you for having me on your show.
You are welcome. Thank you.